She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. You can tell again, here we are again out in Cayman Islands. Absolute gorgeous, stunning place that God clearly created, right? So listen, the lighting's not perfect, the camera's not perfect, but boy, this background is freaking perfect, is it not? This day is going to be another special day. You know, we didn't want to miss the opportunity with all of the most important holidays that are moving through the Bible right now. We've been bringing you these shows in really imperfect conditions as far as camera work goes, but perfect for the time of year. You see, all of these very important biblical holidays have been taking place. Even though I've been traveling, I didn't want you to miss the opportunity, and we also wanted you to hear it directly from somebody who's been experiencing these holidays his entire life. So joining us again, Rabbi Natan, straight from Israel, while I'm here in the Cayman Islands. So much fun, right? We wanted to bring you more knowledge and experience and understanding about what's taking place here in just a couple of days. Now remember, we started this series with Rosh Hashanah, then Yom Kippur, now it's Sukkot. Oh my gosh, such an amazing and exciting time of the year. Really, again, I mean, it's so hard for me to pick which of these is my absolute favorite, just simply because it's like so powerful. So joining us from Israel again, Rabbi Natan, taking us now through and telling us where, in the Bible, where's the resources for Sukkot, this beautiful, wonderful holiday.
Shalom, Dani. Thank you so much for having me back to talk about Sukkot. Sukkot is such a joyous occasion, and I'm so happy to share it with you. So Sukkot is spoken about in different books, Bamidbar, Numbers, in Leviticus, in Exodus it's spoken about twice. But I wanna focus in today on Vayikra, in Leviticus. In chapter 23, it's the second time that it's mentioned over here, but we don't have that much time, so I want to dive straight into it. In verse 39, Ach b'chamisha asar yom lachodesh hashvi'i, and on the 15th day of the 7th month, remember it's the 7th month from the month of Nisan that we've discussed. Nisan is the month we came out of Egypt. 7 months later is the beginning of the year, right? Ba'asafchem et tvuat haaretz. When you gather in the produce of the land, tachogu et chag Adonai shivat yamim. You shall celebrate the celebration of the festival of God 7 days. Bayom HaRishon Shabbaton, uVayom HaShmini Shabbaton. On the first day it's like Shabbat, and on the 8th day it's like Shabbat. Now this is an amazing thing because we are mentioning over here agriculture, right? Ba'asafchem et tvuat haaretz. When you ingather all of the produce of the land. Remember, most of our biblical festivals have a spiritual content to them and a physical content to them. So this is really the reason that I picked these verses to speak about, because there is a very physical aspect to Sukkot. In the times of the temple, the Jewish people really were very involved in agriculture. We were either farming or selling the produce, or buying the produce, or bringing the produce to the temple, or importing or exporting. Everything was around produce, because the Jewish people have an intrinsic connection to the land of Israel, and miracles happen here that are promised by God when the Jewish people are here ruling the land. And we are reliving that now in the modern day of Israel. The modern day of Israel, if you come to visit here, the Negev, which is a desert, is sprouting, is growing plants through the blessings of God, through the abilities of the Jewish people to be blessed by Him. There are people coming from Africa learning how to water agriculture in the middle of a desert. So That's number one. The first thing is that this is a Chag LaHashem. It is a festival for God around agriculture.
Man, I'm telling you, I remember the very first time that I celebrated this, and honestly, Rabbi, it was so incredible to be in a booth. It was actually in my backyard, and to kind of experience. I literally just sat and read my Bible for hours and hours and hours. It was amazing, and it was actually very hot. Like, I'm sweating right now. Filming this, it was like, wow. And I don't know, it was just really incredible. But I want you to explain a little bit more and go in depth as to that connection, the connection with being in a booth throughout this particular week, the week of Sukkot, and that deeper connection. Like, just continue to go in deeper about that particular thing. And also touch on the species that the Bible talks about. Like, there's these 4 species that the Bible talks about concerning this time of year. So, like, draw us in about what that is about.
Now it continues to be even more physical the way that we celebrate it. Ulekachtem lachem bayom harishon, and on the first day you will take for yourself pri etz hadar kapot marim va'anaf etz avot va'arvei nachal. You're going to take for yourself, so I'm going to my English translation over here, you'll take for yourself the fruit of the hadar tree, which is the hadas, myrtle, okay, date palm fronds, a branch from the braided tree, and willows of the brook, okay. And then it goes on and it says, "Usamachtem lifnei Hashem Elokechem," you shall be joyous in front of the Lord your God, Shivat Yamim, for 7 days. Carry on, right? V'chagotem oto chag la'Adonai shivat yamim, shall celebrate this festival for your God 7 days in the year. Chukat olam ledorotechem. This is something that needs to be instituted for all generations on the 7th month to celebrate it. So I'm going to jump forward to a question that you've obviously asked. You've asked for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Is this a festival that should be celebrated now by believers in one God? Yes, because God says it so. For all generations, this shall be a celebration before God.
Okay, so Rabbi Natan, why is it that Jews sit around in booths? By the way, I'm one of those who have sat around in a booth during Sukkot, such a very special thing. But tell me why, traditionally, do the Jews sit in booths for this particular festival?
So we can carry on with the text. There's a lot of text on this, but it's so beautiful. God explains exactly what he wants from us. Okay? Verse 42. Basukot teshvu shivat yamim. In booths you shall sit for 7 days. Kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael, all citizens of Israel, yeshvu basukot, shall sit in Sukkot. So you asked, why are we sitting in these Sukkot? Lama'an yedu dorotechem, so the generations after you know. Ki besukot hushavti et bnei Israel, because in booths I made sit the children of Israel, b'hotzi'i otam me'eretz Mitzrayim, when I brought them out of Egypt. Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am the Lord your God. So yes, there are so many physical things that we do on this Chag HaSukkot, festival of Sukkot. Number 1, we are commanded to be joyous in front of God. Number 2, we take all the different growths from agriculture. We take the myrtle, we take the willow, we take the etrog, which is that yellow thing that looks like a lemon. We take a date palm, and we put them all together, and we celebrate in front of God. We are commanded to sit in booths. Why? Because in a booth, which is not a stable thing like our house, we understand that that's where God put us for 40 years in the desert. And he protected us, that even though our homes were not stable, not made out of brick and mortar, it is God who protects us.
Natan, you had mentioned that this is like a very physical expression season. Like this particular holiday really kind of asks for and is purposed to be a physical expression of worship to our God. Can you tell us a little more about that?
So what else about those booths give us a relationship with God. So the schach, which is the leaves that we put on the top when we build that booth, are relating to what we call the ananei hakavod, the clouds of glory. We read in the Torah, in the Bible, that through the clouds of glory, God stopped arrows being shot at the Israelites walking through the desert for 40 years. He protected us through those clouds. They showed us where to go during the day, remember? The pillar of fire during the night and the clouds during the day showing us where to go. So yes, you're right. There are so many amazing physical things in this beautiful festival that bring us close to God. We sit in a sukkah, in this booth, surrounded, feeling hugged by God, feeling embraced by God. What do we do when we take that, all of the different plants and we bring them together? So there's beautiful understandings that the date palm, which is a straight palm, is like the backbone of a person. And we take the myrtle, which looks like the eyes of a person. We take the willow that looks like the mouth of the person. And we take the etrog, I don't know how to say etrog in English. It's like a lemon type thing, and that's the heart of the person. And we bring all of those things together in joy to serve God, to praise God.
Okay, Rabbi, do you think that when this was celebrated during the temple times, that there was a big difference between how it is being celebrated today? Or do you see, in your opinion, that there's still a connection that the Jews have faithfully been able to keep this just so beautifully pure and have continued to recognize and love God in this particular way? How's that? We have somebody just walking by. Don't you love it? Anyway, back to that. So Rabbi, tell us how it is the same, or maybe if it's any different.
So I'm not sure there are that many differences between how this festival of Sukkot was celebrated in the times of the temple and now, except for the temple being the central place, right? 3 times a year, Sukkot, Shavuot, and Pesach are the times that we went to the temple not empty-handed to bring sacrifices and to witness God in that intense environment around the entire community. So I believe that that is something that's missing today, but we truly, this festival is so community orientated. You know, I'm not going to just sit in my sukkah. I'm going to invite people to squish in my sukkah with me. I'm going to go out to sit in other people's sukkot. This is a very communal, beautiful, beautiful festival. So I believe that those traditions are passed down, that community orientation, taking all of those different agricultural elements, right? The date palms and the willow and all that, putting that together. That's how it was in the temple. We're continuing that. And such an amazing thing that I get to do as a Levite is to continue doing those services. Even though the temple is not here anymore, we get to continue those beautiful services.
So, Rabbi, you had mentioned that it says in the Bible that we're supposed to sit in these booths during this week. And again, it's the same week every single year on the Hebrew calendar, right? This isn't like somebody changed it. It's the same one that's been going on for thousands of years. But God said in his word that you are to do this every single year so that you will remember and future generations will know that I took you out of Egypt. Now listen, I want those who are listening right now to think about, what is the Egypt God took you out of? What Egypt of bondage? What bondage? What slavery did he take you out of? How's the guy walking through the video right now? I love it. Like I said, it's imperfect today, but it's perfect background, is it not? Somebody enjoying their vacation. Anyway, back to this conversation about Sukkot and about God commanding us to live in a booth for a week, so that future generations, our children, would know, like they would ask the question, why are we doing this, right? And that future generations would get an understanding. I took you out of Egypt. So what has that done, Rabbi, for your family? What has that meant in the history even of your family? And how do they actually perceive this?
Yeah, Dani, so I do believe it's very, very powerful as an educator of over 20 years in education that God says, do this in order that the generations after you know. How many of us think through our actions and say, so what are we teaching our children, our great-great-great-grandchildren that we will never meet? What are we teaching them through our action that we're doing today? And God says, what you do today, sitting in a booth, is going to make a difference to the future generations and what they believe and their connection to me. So when I sit in a sukkah, my children sit in a sukkah, and we talk about the protection of God and that the Jews were taken out of the land of Egypt into the promised land which we sit in today, right? Then my children are connected to knowing that it was God that took us out of Egypt. It is God who has returned us to our land. It is God that gives us our home. It is God that gives us our food. It is God that gives their father the ability to make money in order to give charity to the poor and the widow and the orphan. It is all God that is our provider. So I think that you're right. It's an amazingly strong point that God gives us an educational example over here. Go sit in those booths and tell your children that it's because over 3,000 years ago I took you guys out of Egypt. That's why you're still doing it today. So powerful.
Okay, so Rabbi, if people are feeling inspired by the conversation that you and I are having right now about Sukkot, and they're wanting to celebrate it for the first time, how can they find out more information about how to do that?
So how can people celebrate Sukkot these days if you don't have access to that lulav and the etrog, all of those agricultural things, and you're not building a booth, although you can build a booth, go build a booth. Make sure that the top is made out of natural agricultural things, palm leaves, bamboo, things like that. Go sit in it and eat with your family. Invite people into it and discuss the Bible and God. But even if you don't do those things, the way to celebrate this festival of Sukkot, like God says, is be joyous. Rejoice in Him, in His provision to us, in His love of us, that we've come through Rosh Hashanah proclaiming God as King, begging Him to continue His dominion over us, His ruling over us. Yom Kippur, where we beg for forgiveness, that we beg that God stamp and seal us in the book of good life. And then 5 days later, we're sitting in these booths, we're joyous of the great relationship that we have an opportunity to have with our Father in heaven. Dani, thank you so much for having me. It's always wonderful to connect with you and to teach with you. God bless. Shana Tova.
Okay, well listen, thanks for putting up for the imperfect video with the absolute perfect background. We've had vacationers walking behind, snorkeling behind. Like, I think you can hear the blower. In fact, I'm right in front of the governor's house. So the blower's going, whatever. Anyway, bottom line is this. As I stand here in the Cayman Islands and Rabbi Natan over there in Israel, I know you enjoyed this. I know you learned something. And now it's about taking action. What will you do? We started celebrating these particular holidays that we've been leading you through for these last 3 shows because they've meant so much to me personally. Man, I'm telling you, the first meal that I create for Sukkot is so powerful. So I do 7 different cuts of meat and 7 different fruits and 7 different vegetables, and of course the challah, which is like so incredible. So it's so much about food and being outside and candlelight. I mean, it's just an absolute gorgeous time, which is how we do it with our family. And it's a very I don't know, it's like going back and remembering that, yes, He brought us out of Egypt. He brought my children out of Egypt. Do you understand? Because He brought me out of Egypt, He brought Hans out of Egypt, He brought our children out of Egypt, and here we are all these years later in absolute freedom. And I think it's really important, especially Christians, believers who say they believe in Messiah. How do you express that? How do you experience that? How is it that your family even understands or recognizes that? Are you dependent on church to be able to express that for your family personally, and about what it means to your family to have been delivered from Egypt? I mean, is that Is that what you're doing, depending on church to explain it? Listen, don't depend on church to explain it. Gather around the table. Have this time during Sukkot. Set up a little, canopy, whatever. You could get one at Walmart, for goodness sakes. And I took sheets. I literally took sheets and I put the sheets all around the walls. I took those little clips that I actually hang my drapes with, little tiny, they're so cheap. And I clipped sheets, literally, flat sheets all around this little canopy that people usually set up at the beach, and decorated it with lights and beauty and wonderful. And it's a special time, decorating the tables outside with my granddaughters, lighting the candles, preparing all the food. It's just a special time, friend. And listen, so oftentimes the Christian faith does nothing besides celebrate pagan holidays, and they don't even realize that they're celebrating pagan holidays. And yet here is our Father in heaven who birthed us, who gave us our manual about how to keep our family traditions. And Sukkot is one of those traditions. So I challenge you now, step up, give it a shot, experience it. It's a really powerful thing. And if you've enjoyed today's video and you've enjoyed Rabbi Natan, please reach out to us. Comment in the comments below wherever it is that you are watching this show. And if you're watching it on television, you can come on over to Facebook or the website DaniJohnson.com. And on DaniJohnson.com, you can even find the other two videos if you missed them, the other two shows that we did on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. So, as well as an entire year worth of shows, actually 9 years worth of shows. You can find all of those shows on the archive. So, I'm signing off from the Cayman Islands today. Heading home. God bless you. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say about these particular holidays, how your family has now participated with them, what it has meant to you. And we want to hear, even if you have any questions, because we would do our very best to answer them. God bless you and your family during these really precious and amazing holidays. Bye-bye.